7 p.m. for the Zen Wisdom Show. Thank you.
Welcome to the Dave Mierswa Show, the cutting-edge talk show about legal, political, and current issues. Practicing in both Wisconsin and Illinois, David Mierswa is a leading trial attorney bringing nearly 2 decades of business law, family law, personal injury, and estate planning experience to you. The Dave Mierswa Show, about the people, for the people, and bringing justice to the people. The Dave Mierswa Show, its guests, agents, and WRLR are not rendering any legal advice. All listeners are encouraged to seek legal advice from properly licensed and qualified professionals.
Welcome back to the Dave Mierswa Show. I hope everyone is having a great Sunday out there. I just looked out the studio window. What a mistake. It's like fall all over again, raining, overcast. But guess what, folks? There's a little sunshine out there. It's called the Dave Mierswa Show. I just made myself laugh. I'm sitting alone here in the studio, and this kind of brings up a point that a couple weeks ago I played 2 audio clips, and it was Howard Dean versus Hillary Clinton. Which one of these has the most funniest audio clip? I'm going to tone it down a few notches here. Just before break, I got so fired up, and one of the engineers here came in and told me to turn down the microphone a little bit because it was a little too loud. So I don't think your voice can be loud enough when you get so passionate, but when it comes to engineering audio, that's what he meant. But the voice of an individual, and it is so important, and that's why I started this radio show. I want to take a couple minutes here just to talk about WRLR and this radio show. So WRLR is a family-friendly radio station. They are a non-for-profit, and all the people that work here at the radio station are all volunteers. And so it's pretty cool. So all these people work so hard behind the scenes, in the studio, the programming. And I tell you, there's no other radio station like WRLR. They get such a great mixture, all the way from the Beatles to Metal Mayhem and and so forth. And I tell you, I couldn't have my show on the air without their help, and my talk show here, and all the cutting edge topics that I bring to you. So a big thank you to all the WRLR staff. And you know what? Also a thank you to all you WRLR listeners out there, the listeners and friends that tune in every Sunday at 12 noon to listen to me talk here. And, I said it before, I can talk for hours and hours and hours and hours. Yesterday, I got up at 5 a.m. Saturday is supposed to be my time off, and yesterday I got up at 5 a.m. I did my workout, and I've been doing P90X3 out there. And I got sick. I just relaunched that 2 weeks ago. And I got up, I went to Wisconsin yesterday, and I take care of my 84-year-old mom. And we took her out to lunch, and we got her situated again, and which is great. But here's another shout out. Last night, this was really important to me, and it's very rare that you have someone or some people in your life for as long as they have been. So I thank you to my wife for driving home last night. I fell asleep. She's like, you'll be awake till Fond du Lac. And we drove home and got in about 1:30 a.m. coming back from Oshkosh. But last night I went to a black tie event, a formal event where my old fraternity, Delta Chi, and they were a colony. They lost their charter about 3 years ago. And last night, their colony was turned back into a chapter. And any of you that has been in the Greek system, and those of you that haven't, that means everything. That means that you are a full-fledged chapter, and it's a big deal. So we had a black tie event last night, a lot of ceremony, and I got to tell you, it was at the Oshkosh Country Club, and it was awesome. The food was good. I reconnected with a very close friend of mine, Ron Montgomery. A shout out to Ron Montgomery for all his help, and then a big shout out to all my Delta Chi brothers out there. I'm on the board of trustees, and I took over the position of alumni relations. So I'm here to connect with people with this radio station, but a big shout out to all my brothers. So a big congratulations to them. And so that's where I was last night. So I tell you, I got up this morning at 6, did my workout, and so I got about 20 minutes or so left in the show. So I always get fired up about these topics, and I just can't tell you. It is so important for this radio show and the things that I talk about, that I bring to you, that a lot of these other talk shows are not talking about. They are afraid to talk about. So my next audio clip here is the Attorney General. There were a whole bunch of Attorney Generals that got together. They are state Attorney Generals that got together this week, and they were talking about common sense climate change, and they call it climate change now, but it used to be called global warming, all these other changes. But a whole bunch of attorney generals from different states got together, and they talked about prosecuting people that were speaking out against climate change. Folks, I don't make this up. Friends and listeners, I don't make this stuff up. And it's hard to believe that they are doing what they're doing. But I tell you, if you know about it and then you're educated on the topic, then you can start to do something about this. Let me play the next audio clip here.
Good afternoon. In Virginia, climate change isn't some theoretical issue. It's real, and we are already dealing with its consequences. Hampton Roads, which is a coastal region in Virginia, is our second most populated region, our second biggest economy, and the country's second most vulnerable area as sea levels rise. The area has the 10th most valuable assets in the world threatened by sea level rise. In the last 85 years, the relative sea level in Hampton Roads has risen 14 inches. That's well over a foot in just the last century. Some projections say that we can expect an additional 2 to 5 feet of relative sea level rise by the end of this century. And that would literally change the face of our state. It would cripple our economy. And it could threaten our national security as Norfolk Naval, the world's largest naval base, is impacted. Nuisance flooding that has increased in frequency will become the norm. They call it blue sky flooding. Storm surges from tropical systems will threaten more homes, businesses, and residents. And even away from the coast, Virginians are expected to feel the impact of climate change as severe weather becomes more dangerous and frequent. Just a few weeks ago, we had a highly unusual February outbreak of tornadoes in the Commonwealth that was very damaging and unfortunately deadly. Farming and forestry is our #1 industry in Virginia. It's a $70 billion industry in Virginia that supports around 400,000 jobs. And it's going to get more difficult and expensive. And the Commonwealth of Virginia, local governments, and the Navy are already spending millions to build more resilient infrastructure, with millions and millions more on the horizon. To replace just one pier at Norfolk Naval is about $35 to $40 million, and there are 14 piers. So that would be around $500 million right there. As a Commonwealth and a nation, we can't put our heads in the sand. We must act, and that is what today is about. I'm proud to have Virginia included in this first-of-its-kind coalition, which recognizes the reality and the pressing threat of man-made climate change and sea level rise. This group is already standing together to defend the Clean Power Plan, an ambitious and achievable plan to enjoy the health, economic, and environmental benefits of cleaner air and cleaner energy. But there may be other opportunities, and that's why I've come all the way from Virginia. I am looking forward to exploring ideas and opportunities to partner and collaborate. If there are enforcement actions we need to be taking, if there are legal cases we need to be involved in, if there are statutory or regulatory barriers to growing our clean energy sectors. And ultimately, I want to work together with my colleagues here and back in Virginia to help combat climate change and to shape a more sustainable future. And for any folks who would say that climate change is some sort of made-up global conspiracy, that we're wasting our time, then come to Hampton Roads. Come to Norfolk and take a look for yourselves. Mayor Frame would love to have you.
Okay, you heard it, where anyone who speaks out against, they call it climate change and they call it climate deniers. And, being a lawyer and having someone control the theme and the terminology that comes out is so important. And I got to tell you, the left progressive Democrats are experts at this. The Republicans are always playing catch up on this. And I can't say enough that first of all, it's a fact that the Arctic is actually had more ice in this past year or two than ever. So it actually grew in mass. And they started out, I remember, you can Google this. Al Gore created this video. And anyone who knows anything about statistics, I've taken quite a few courses in statistics, okay? And first of all, when you got a politician and who's an ex-politician that gets up on the horn in the soapbox and starts preaching that he knows what the new Bible is out there, and so the new Bible was global warming. Okay, that was under Al Gore. So under Al Gore, and he said in 15 years that the sea levels would have risen anywhere from 2 feet on up to 5 feet or more. Okay, it's been about 16 years since he's created that video. And in some places, actually, the sea levels have gone down. Okay, so, and a lot has to do where, I'm not denying that the Arctic and the ice shield doesn't have a lot to do with it. But the facts that they state are just a blatant lie. The facts that they rely on are a blatant lie. And now they're talking about trying to prosecute anyone that wants to speak out against them. So first of all, I'm for the truth. Okay, so whatever they try to coin and whatever they try to put in the terminology, I'm not against it. You know what? I'm for the truth. And the truth is that when a politician gets up there, first of all, every time they open their mouth, you can almost assume that they're lying. Unfortunately, a lot of lawyers are like that as well. So, there's a lot of bad lawyer jokes and all that out there. A lot of lawyers are politicians. So, this it goes from global warming to climate change. So now they create this new terminology called climate change. So it could go up in temperature or down. It's still climate change. Well, folks, climate changes. That's what happens. And here's another problem. I've taken a look at the statistics and a lot of their arguments, and their snapshot of the climate only goes back not even 100 to 125 years. Okay, so this planet has cycles that can date anywhere from a few years to 50 years to 100 to thousands to tens of thousands of years, or even millions of years. We just don't know what the planet and these cycles are. And they don't talk about that. See, once again, it's all about controlling the narrative, and it's all about education. So, do I disbelieve that man has impacted the globe and the earth and all that? Yes. I believe that there's an impact. Of course there is. If you got a plot of land and then the next day you set up a house or whatever, yeah, it's changing the environment. But not all cases of man changing the environment is bad. There are a lot of natural disasters that man has cleaned up, and they never talk about that. And then forest fires. Forest fires are a natural thing, and yet the man, what we do is we put out a lot of these large forest fires that would devastate almost whole states. So don't preach to me. First of all, I can't talk about climate change. Number two, I'm not denying anything. They are. They're denying the truth. So if anyone is denying anything, it's them. I got a last audio clip here. I'm going to play for a minute, and then I'm going to read my last email that I got in a couple of months ago. So let me play this last audio clip, and I'll read the email.
My question to you is, other than civil forfeitures and matters attendant to a criminal case, are there other circumstances in which a civil matter, under the authority of the Department of Justice, has been referred to the FBI?
Senator, thank you for raising that issue, and thank you for your work in this area. I know your commitment is deep. This matter has been discussed. We have received information about it and have referred it to the FBI to consider whether or not it meets the criteria for what we could take action on. I'm not aware of a civil referral at this time. I will look into that and get back to you, but I'm not aware of a civil referral outside of the one that you just raised.
Are there any civil cases with the United States as plaintiff within DOJ's civil division in which the FBI is preparing the case for the civil division?
Are you regarding climate change?
Regarding
issues?
any matter.
I couldn't give you that information right now as in terms of whether or
You can
not.
take that as a question for the record.
Thank you. 18
U.S.C. Section 1968 authorizes the Attorney General to file a civil investigative demand prior to the institution of a civil RICO proceeding to gather and to protect evidence. In referring this matter to the FBI, did you authorize them to issue civil investigative demands under your authority pursuant to that section?
Senator, I wouldn't be able to give you the specifics on that at this time.
All right. Question for the record then again.
Thank you.
Have you designated the FBI or anyone as the document custodian under the statute at issue? Document custodian being a term of art in the RICO statute.
Senator, I wouldn't be able to provide that information. And actually, sir...
Okay, I had enough of listening to AG Lynn. It's Attorney General Lynn from the DOJ, the Department of Justice. I had enough of her answers. This seems to be the pattern under the Obama administration that he carries forward. It starts under his lack of leadership. I wouldn't call him a leader. And but at this point, did you hear what was going on? Let me explain what's going on, and then I'll read my last email. And folks, I got to go then. This hour flies by. So they're using the RICO statute that was used for organized crime to come after either businesses or individuals or organizations that they deem climate deniers. Did you hear that? So that's what's going on. They actually had the Justice Department met with other certain individuals that she said that she couldn't talk specifics on to talk about deniers of climate change and then what they can do under civil penalties or criminal penalties. For them to even be talking about that is just completely outrageous, and we're all protected under the First Amendment. I invite AG Lynn to try to, come out here and talk on the radio, and we'll get down to the specifics. Obviously, smaller radio show and all that, but folks, this is what's going on out there. So that won't be the last that you hear about, global change and climate change, whatever they're calling it next week. Global warming, global freezing, all that. Let me get to my email. This is important, folks. I know it's been a long hour for you here. Maybe it hasn't. I hope it hasn't. I hope I've been a little bit entertaining here. I got about 3.5 minutes left, and then I got to fly. So, my email. Dear Dave, love the show. What do I need for estate planning? Just a will. No. My answer to that is no. A will is not good enough. A will trigger what's known as probate. If you have assets above $75,000 to $100,000 here in Illinois, or you own real estate, you must proceed to probate court where all these matters are decided. And it gets really expensive. And they got this thing called the probate code and all these little rules that go into it. And let me tell you 5 documents you need for estate planning. I got about 2.5 minutes, so I'm going to do this real quick and then I'll repeat it. And then I'm out on the street. Okay, first one, living revocable trust. It's an LRT, a living revocable trust. That's a document that keeps you out of probate, and then it keeps the transaction private. In other words, people can't peer into your estate. The next one is a pour-over will that coincides with the living revocable trust. Anything that doesn't hit the LRT, that's a living revocable trust, hits the pour-over will. Okay, the next one, this is really important. Power of attorney for health. If you ever try to make a medical decision without a power of attorney for health, the doctors won't allow you, or the risk management were a bunch of lawyers, okay? The next document that you need will either be a durable or a general power of attorney. If you were rendered unconscious in a car accident and or by the drugs that they've given you, then you need an individual to help come in, pay your bills, check your estate, and so forth. And that's known as a durable or general power of attorney. Durable means that it's triggered with some event, like one that you're knocked unconscious. General means that once you sign it, it's activated and it's live. So you got to be very careful as to who you name under the power of attorney, under a general power of attorney. The last document here is known as a HIPAA medical authorization. HIPAA medical authorization. This allows you, your attorney, or some loved ones to go get medical records and then seek independent or second medical opinions on something. Let's say you need invasive surgery. Okay, so let me recap and then I am out the door, folks. Living revocable trust, number 1. Number 2, power of a will. Number 3 is power of attorney for health. Number 4, power of attorney, a general or durable power of attorney. Last document is a HIPAA medical authorization. Folks, I've written some articles on this, so you can go to law540.com, law540.com. Look at the resource page. I wrote an article on why a will is not good for you. Folks, I am out the door. Have a great Sunday. I will be back next Sunday with more cutting-edge topics and politics and law and so forth. And you guys take care of your family and yourself out there. And I'll talk to you next Sunday, 12 noon. Bye now.